Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The moment you trust someone completely, you give them the blueprint to destroy you. Trust is a loaded gun. Hand it to the wrong person, and sooner or later, you'll be staring down the barrel. Sigma males understand this better than anyone. They help everyone but trust no one, not because they're cold-hearted, but because they've seen too many people smile while sharpening their knives. Here's a brutal fact. Over 80% of betrayals come from people you once considered close. That's not paranoia. It's statistics. History isn't written by the loyal. It's written by those who knew when to keep their guard up. Yet, despite their deep distrust, Sigma males are often the first to step in and help others. Why? Are they secret saints? Do they enjoy playing guardian angel? Not even close. Every favor, every act of kindness is a silent calculation. They study people like a chessboard, knowing that generosity is the easiest way to reveal who's worthy and who's just waiting for the perfect moment to switch sides. It's not about being heartless, it's about being smart in a world where betrayal is currency. So why do Sigma males help without trusting? What's their hidden strategy? And most importantly, what can you learn from it? Let's dive into the mind of the Sigma male, where trust is scarce but wisdom is endless. Number 1. Sigma males operate on a controlled reciprocity model. Sigma males don't help others out of blind kindness or some naive sense of goodwill. They operate on something far more strategic. Controlled reciprocity. They give, but never in a way that leaves them exposed. Every favor, every act of assistance, is done with one critical rule: never expect anything in return. This isn't pessimism, it's power. Most people help with a subconscious expectation, gratitude, loyalty, or at the very least, acknowledgement. But Sigma males, they strip all emotion from the equation. They help to observe, to see who takes, who appreciates, who exploits, and who disappears the moment they get what they need. It's a test that no one even realizes they're failing. When you help someone with no expectation, you remove their ability to disappoint you. You take away their power to betray, because you never relied on them in the first place. It's a move that keeps the Sigma detached and unshaken by human unpredictability. They don't need loyalty, they just need data. That's the brilliance of controlled reciprocity. It keeps the Sigma invisible, yet invaluable. They become a resource, someone people respect but never fully understand. Others may assume their generosity means they are open, trusting, or easily manipulated. That's the biggest mistake anyone can make. A Sigma's help is like an open tab in a bar. You never know when or if they'll call it in. They might never need to. The mere fact that someone feels indebted makes them cautious. It forces people to tread carefully, to second-guess their actions. The Sigma male, without lifting a finger, creates an invisible leverage. Number 2. Helping is a psychological escape hatch. Sigma males don't just help others out of generosity, they do it because it gives them a built-in exit strategy. When they offer assistance, advice, or resources, they create a natural stopping point in any interaction. It's a way to engage without getting trapped, to step in when necessary, but always leave on their own terms. Most people get stuck in draining relationships, pointless conversations, or toxic environments because they feel obligated to stay. They don't know how to leave without looking selfish or rude. Sigma males don't have this problem. Helping becomes their psychological escape hatch, an excuse to step away without guilt, without drama, without explanation. They understand that people are far less likely to resent someone who leaves after offering value. If they simply disappeared, it might raise questions. But if they've already given something, a solution, a resource, a favor, there's nothing left to demand from them. Their departure feels natural, even expected. Others might think, he did his part, he helped. Now he's off to do his own thing. And that's exactly the way the Sigma male wants it. This tactic also prevents others from becoming too dependent on them. If someone constantly leans on a Sigma for emotional support, advice, or assistance, they'll never learn to stand on their own. By helping just enough and then stepping back, Sigmas ensure they aren't pulled into endless cycles of neediness and drama. They refuse to be the emotional dumping ground for people who don't take control of their own lives. Helping isn't about control for them, it's about freedom. It lets them connect when they choose to, detach when they need to, and avoid unnecessary emotional entanglements. It's a strategic move, one that keeps them independent while still allowing them to navigate social interactions without burning bridges. At the end of the day, a Sigma male knows that trust is a rare currency, and the more people expect from you, the harder it is to walk away clean. That's why they help, but never in a way that ties them down. Number 3, trust is a liability in a world full of self-interest. Sigma males understand a harsh reality that most people choose to ignore. Trust is not a virtue, it's a risk. In an ideal world, trust would be a foundation for strong relationships, mutual respect, and loyalty. But in the real world, it's a liability. It's an open invitation for exploitation, disappointment, and in many cases, outright betrayal. They've seen it happen time and time again. People claim to be loyal until circumstances shift. Friends, family, even partners. Many will trade integrity for convenience when the right opportunity presents itself. It's not always out of malice. It's simply human nature. People are driven by self-interest first, everything else second. And that's exactly why Sigma males refuse to gamble on something as unstable as trust. Trusting someone means handing them a weapon, one they might not use today, tomorrow, or even next year. But when the time comes, when pressures mount or temptations arise, that weapon is already in their hands. Sigma males refuse to be in a position where someone else's decision-making can compromise their own well-being. They know better than to put their security, happiness, or future in the hands of someone who might one day prioritize themselves over the bond they once shared. This doesn't mean Sigmas are paranoid or incapable of forming relationships. On the contrary, they interact with people freely, openly, and even help them, but always with a mental firewall in place. They may work with others, socialize, and even offer guidance, but their inner circle is nearly non-existent. Every relationship they have is built on observation, not blind faith. They measure people not by words, but by patterns. They watch for consistency, for actions aligning with promises. And even then, they never fully let their guard down because life has taught them that circumstances create betrayals, not always character flaws. In a world fueled by self-interest, Sigma males know that trusting too easily is just setting up future disappointment. Instead, they choose to move independently, relying on no one but themselves. That way, no matter what happens, they remain untouchable. Number 4, helping others is a stealth power move. Sigma males don't just help people out of goodwill. They do it because helping is a silent strategy. It's a way to build influence without ever appearing manipulative. When someone receives unexpected help, it triggers a psychological shift. Even if the Sigma never asks for anything in return, the person on the receiving end feels indebted, whether they realize it or not. This is where the real power lies. Unlike traditional dominance tactics, where people openly exert control, Sigma males operate in the shadows. They help in a way that makes others feel valued, respected, and even grateful. But beneath that surface, an invisible dynamic is forming, a silent form of leverage that no one can quite put their finger on. When people feel indebted, they instinctively adjust their behavior. They hesitate before crossing the Sigma. They second-guess any thought of betrayal. They feel an unspoken obligation to be fair, to be considerate, to avoid burning a bridge they might one day need. The Sigma never has to remind them, never has to bring up past favors. The weight of unspoken debt does all the work. This is why Sigma males can navigate social circles without appearing controlling or forceful. Unlike alpha males who demand loyalty, Sigmas let people offer it voluntarily. There's no pressure, no expectations, yet the people they've helped naturally fall in line. It's a power move so subtle that most don't even recognize it's happening. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't just create influence, it also acts as a protective shield. When a Sigma male has helped enough people, their network becomes an unseen defense system. Others will think twice before attempting to harm, undermine, or challenge them, because there are too many people who see the Sigma as an asset rather than an obstacle. This is why Sigmas don't engage in petty power struggles. They don't need to. Their influence is already woven into the minds of those around them. And the best part, they never have to call in a single favor, because people will instinctively protect those they feel they owe. That's the stealth power of helping without expectation. Number 5. They see the hidden nature of people. Sigma males have an ability that most people lack, the patience to see beyond the mask. While the average person takes people at face value, Sigmas understand that nearly everyone is performing. They don't get distracted by words, appearances, or social personas because they know that who people pretend to be is rarely who they actually are. Most people wear masks, some out of insecurity, some out of necessity, and some because they have something to hide. But no matter how carefully someone plays their role, small cracks always form. A moment of frustration reveals hidden arrogance. A joke disguised as sarcasm exposes buried resentment. A subtle hesitation betrays dishonesty. Sigma males don't need to confront or interrogate. They just watch. And once they see the truth, they never unsee it. This ability to detect hidden nature makes them nearly impossible to deceive. People reveal themselves in the smallest ways: how they treat those beneath them, how they react to rejection, how they behave when no one is watching. While most overlook these details, Sigma males absorb them. They connect patterns that others ignore, recognizing manipulation, selfishness, or weakness long before it fully surfaces. This doesn't mean they constantly expose people or call them out. In fact, they rarely say anything at all. They just take mental notes, adjust their approach, and position themselves accordingly. If someone is fake, they distance themselves before the facade crumbles. If someone is dangerous, they prepare for when the mask eventually slips. They never act out of paranoia, only calculated awareness. And this is why Sigma males rarely get blindsided. They don't get betrayed, they see it coming. They don't fall for false loyalty because they noticed the warning signs long before. Most people get fooled because they only pay attention to what's shown to them. Sigma males, on the other hand, pay attention to what isn't. Number 6. They test people without them knowing. Sigma males have learned a brutal truth that most people ignore. Trust isn't a virtue, it's an exposure point. In a world where self-interest dictates most decisions, trusting the wrong person isn't just a mistake. It's a delayed disaster waiting to happen. They understand that every betrayal starts with misplaced trust, and that the easiest way to avoid being stabbed in the back is to never hand someone the knife in the first place. Most people like to believe in loyalty, in the idea that trust is the foundation of strong relationships. But Sigma males see through this illusion. They know that trust is only as strong as the circumstances that support it. People aren't inherently loyal, they're loyal as long as it benefits them. Change the conditions, introduce pressure, opportunity, or personal gain, and watch how quickly priorities shift. This isn't cynicism, it's just pattern recognition. They've seen friends turn into competitors, partners betray each other over fleeting temptations, and colleagues throw each other under the bus for promotions, not because they're inherently evil, but because when survival and self-interest are at play, people rationalize their betrayals. The mistake most people make is assuming that trust is a permanent thing, when in reality, it's just a temporary agreement that lasts only as long as it remains convenient. This is why Sigma males keep their guard up at all times. They aren't emotionless robots. They simply refuse to gamble their well-being on someone else's shifting priorities. They may work with others, form connections, and even appear open, but their inner world is locked down. No one has full access because they know that even the closest people can become threats under the right circumstances. This mindset doesn't mean they live in isolation. It means they operate with strategic detachment. They listen, they observe, and they engage, but they never fully hand over their trust. Because in a world where most people act in their own self-interest, trusting blindly isn't just foolish, it's volunteering for betrayal. Number 7. Trust must be earned, but almost no one earns it. Sigma males don't believe in blind trust. They see it as a gamble with terrible odds. In a world where most people act out of self-interest, handing out trust without proof is just setting yourself up for betrayal. That's why they operate on a simple but ruthless principle. Trust must be earned, and almost no one earns it. Most people walk around expecting trust simply because of who they are: a friend, a partner, a family member. They assume that titles alone guarantee loyalty. But Sigma males don't buy into this illusion. Loyalty isn't a title, it's a test. And the truth is, most people fail it. Not necessarily because they're bad, but because when push comes to shove, their first priority will always be themselves. Instead of assuming people are good until proven otherwise, Sigmas flip the equation. Everyone is selfish until they prove they're not. This isn't negativity, it's pattern recognition. They've seen how easily people switch sides when circumstances change. The colleague who seemed like a friend will throw you under the bus for a promotion. The partner who swore they'd never leave will walk away when things get difficult. The friend who promised loyalty will suddenly change when there's social pressure. Sigma males don't take these things personally. They simply accept human nature for what it is. This mindset keeps them from making the fatal mistake of assuming someone is trustworthy just because they haven't done anything wrong yet. Silence isn't proof of loyalty. A lack of betrayal doesn't mean someone won't betray when given the right incentive. That's why Sigmas watch for consistent behavior over time, not just words or temporary acts of kindness. They know that real trust isn't based on how people act when everything is good, it's how they behave when things get difficult. Since so few people pass this test, Sigma males rarely, if ever, let their guard down completely. They may work with others, form relationships, and even be generous, but their deepest trust is reserved for themselves alone. Because in their experience, the only person who will never betray them is them. Number 8. They've experienced betrayal too many times. Sigma males don't distrust people because they're paranoid. They distrust people because they've seen the pattern repeat too many times. Betrayal isn't some abstract fear for them. It's a lived experience, a lesson carved into their psyche by the very people they once trusted. They've been the ones who gave too much, believed too deeply, and assumed that loyalty meant something. They've been let down, double-crossed and blindsided, not by enemies, but by the people they thought were in their corner. That's what makes betrayal sting the most. It never comes from strangers. The first few times, they might have brushed it off, convinced themselves it was just bad luck or a one-time mistake. But over time, the pattern became impossible to ignore. People are only as loyal as their circumstances allow them to be. Give them the right pressure, the right temptation, or the right excuse, and suddenly, everything they once swore to stand for becomes negotiable. Sigma males don't just assume betrayal will happen. They've watched it unfold firsthand. Friends turning envious, partners choosing convenience over commitment, colleagues selling them out for personal gain. After enough repetitions of this cycle, trust stops being a default setting and becomes a rare privilege that almost no one qualifies for. This is why Sigma males move through life with a quiet detachment. They may still engage with people, but their guard is always up. They never fully expose themselves, never put all their faith in another person, because they refuse to be caught off guard again. Once you've seen how easily people shift, you stop expecting them to stay the same. Their lack of trust isn't bitterness, it's self-preservation. It's not about being cold or shutting people out for no reason. It's about recognizing that in a world where most people prioritize themselves, trust isn't just a risk. It's an open invitation for history to repeat itself. And Sigma males have learned their lesson the hard way. Once is misfortune, twice is carelessness, a third time that's on you. Number 9. They are not cynical, they are realists. Sigma males are not bitter, cynical, or unnecessarily distrustful. They are realists who have simply accepted a fundamental truth about human nature. Self-interest comes first. While others operate on blind optimism, believing in unconditional loyalty and permanent trust, Sigmas see the world for what it is, a place where people are loyal only as long as it serves them. This doesn't mean they expect the worst from everyone, but they do prepare for it. They don't assume someone will betray them, but they know that if the right circumstances arise, money, power, pressure, or survival, most people will choose themselves over any bond they once had. This isn't negativity, it's simply pattern recognition. Many people live under the illusion that relationships, whether friendships, business partnerships, or even romantic commitments, are built purely on emotional connection. But Sigma males know better. Every relationship is influenced by circumstances. When times are good, trust is easy. But when real pressure hits, that's when a person's true nature is revealed. And from experience, Sigmas have seen that most people's integrity is conditional. This isn't a worldview rooted in paranoia. If anything, it allows them to navigate life with clarity and efficiency. They don't waste energy being constantly suspicious, nor do they get emotionally shattered when someone lets them down. They expect human nature to be what it is, and they plan accordingly. It's the same reason they never put themselves in a position where another person's choices can destroy them. The key difference between Sigmas and cynics is that cynics resent human nature. Sigmas accept it. They don't waste time complaining about betrayal or blaming others for looking out for themselves. Instead, they adapt. They operate with strategic detachment, selective trust, and absolute self-reliance. If someone proves to be truly loyal over time, great. If not, they move on. No bitterness, no wasted emotion, no surprise. In the end, their so-called distrust isn't negativity, it's just wisdom in action. While others build their world on hopeful illusions, Sigma males build theirs on unshakable reality. And that's why they never fall the hardest when things go wrong. Number 10. Helping is a way to study human weakness. Sigma males don't help people out of blind generosity. They help because it reveals everything they need to know about a person, their weaknesses, their motivations, their hidden fears. Every time someone accepts assistance, they expose something about themselves. And the Sigma male is always watching, always analyzing, always learning. Most people assume that receiving help is a simple exchange. Someone gives and someone takes, but Sigma males know better. The way a person reacts to help tells you everything about them. Do they feel entitled to it? Do they show gratitude? Do they immediately try to take more? Or do they become uneasy, afraid of being indebted? Each reaction is a window into a person's psychology, revealing things they would never admit outright. When someone is in need, their vulnerabilities become obvious. They show what they lack, what they struggle with, what they secretly desire but can't obtain on their own. Helping allows the Sigma male to map out someone's dependencies. Who relies on what? Who crumbles under pressure? Who panics when they have no safety net? It's like gathering intelligence without asking a single question. But the real power comes in seeing how people behave after they receive help. Some will suddenly act entitled, as if they deserve more. Some will vanish, embarrassed by their own weakness. Others will stick around feeling a quiet sense of debt. This post-favor behavior determines exactly who can be trusted, who is a leech, and who is a hidden opportunist. By offering assistance strategically, Sigma males gain a silent advantage. They understand people better than most, not because they ask, but because they observe. People are never more honest than when they need something. And the Sigma male uses that honesty to refine his understanding of the world. For them, helping isn't kindness. It's information collection. It's a way to know who to avoid, who to keep at a distance, and who, if anyone, is actually worth their trust. Number 11. They know that being useful keeps enemies at bay. Sigma males understand a subtle but powerful rule of survival. Being useful is the ultimate form of protection. In a world where power struggles, hidden agendas, and self-interest rule, the easiest way to avoid being targeted is to make yourself too valuable to eliminate. Most people operate under the illusion that strength alone prevents enemies. They believe dominance, intimidation, or alliances keep them safe. But Sigma males know better. Raw strength invites challengers. Power attracts opposition. But usefulness, that makes people think twice. Enemies don't just strike for the sake of it. They strike when the benefits outweigh the risks. But when someone is genuinely valuable, when their absence would create more problems than their presence, eliminating them becomes a complicated decision. Even those who dislike them hesitate, not out of loyalty, but out of practicality. A Sigma male doesn't need to be loud or authoritative to secure his position. He simply ensures that whether in business, social circles, or even personal relationships, his presence solves more problems than it creates. He operates behind the scenes, quietly making himself indispensable. He's the one with knowledge others don't have, skills that aren't easily replaced, or a network that would be disrupted if he were removed. This is why Sigma males don't engage in unnecessary conflicts. They don't waste time making enemies, nor do they fear them. Instead, they play a different game, one where their value speaks for itself. Why attack someone who is quietly making your life easier? Even if an enemy resents them, that enemy also knows that removing the Sigma would create a ripple effect, one that might cause more problems than it solves. And that's the brilliance of it. They don't need to manipulate or control others. They simply position themselves in a way where even those who dislike them hesitate to make a move. Because in the end, people will always prioritize their own benefit, and removing a Sigma male often means removing their own advantage. Number 12. They know that power comes from having nothing to lose. Sigma males understand a truth that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. The more you have to lose, the easier you are to control. Trust creates attachments, and attachments create vulnerabilities. That's why they move through life with calculated detachment, ensuring that no one ever has the leverage to dictate their actions. Most people willingly hand over their power without realizing it. They trust too easily, invest too deeply in relationships, and tie their sense of security to things they don't control, whether it's a partner, a boss, a social group, or even a reputation. But Sigma males play by a different set of rules. They don't anchor themselves to people or institutions that could one day turn against them. This isn't about isolation, it's about strategic independence. While others entangle themselves in obligations and expectations, Sigmas remain fluid, adaptable, and untouchable. If a relationship turns toxic, they walk away without hesitation. If a workplace becomes stifling, they leave without fear. If someone betrays them, it doesn't break them. It simply confirms what they already suspected. Their lack of blind trust ensures that no one holds the keys to their downfall. They don't rely on others for validation, security, or direction, which makes them almost impossible to manipulate. You can't threaten someone with loss if they've structured their life in a way where nothing is irreplaceable. This is why Sigma males operate with an air of quiet dominance, not because they seek power, but because they are immune to the traps that weaken most people. They understand that true power isn't about control over others. It's about ensuring that no one ever has control over them. Sigma males move through life with a quiet awareness that sets them apart. They help, but they trust no one. They observe, but they reveal nothing. They engage with the world, yet remain untouchable by it. To outsiders, this might seem cold or calculated, but in reality, it's the ultimate form of wisdom, an understanding that most people live behind masks, operate on self-interest, and betray when the conditions are right. They've learned that trust, when given too freely, becomes a loaded weapon that can be used against them. That kindness, when not managed carefully, invites entitlement instead of gratitude. That attachments, no matter how deep, can turn into chains when placed in the wrong hands. So they walk a different path, one where their power comes not from dominance, but from detachment. This isn't pessimism, it's survival at the highest level. While others get blindsided, manipulated, or controlled, Sigma males remain untouched. Not because they avoid people, but because they see them for what they truly are. They don't gamble on integrity or place faith in illusions. Instead, they let time, behavior, and real-world actions reveal the truth. And this is why they thrive. Because in a world where trust is often misplaced, where power shifts hands with deception, and where loyalty is conditional, the only true freedom comes from never putting yourself at someone else's mercy. Sigma males don't reject connection, but they refuse to be dependent on it. They help, but they owe no one. They give, but they expect nothing. They interact, but they never let themselves be owned. In the end, it's not about being untouchable, it's about being unbreakable. And that's why they move differently, think differently, and live on their own terms, no matter what the world expects. If this perspective resonated with you, don't just leave. Be part of the movement. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on content that challenges the norm. Like this video if you found value in it, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's start a real conversation. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Stay sharp, stay independent, and keep moving on your own terms.